If you are into video game discussions, you've come to the right place. Who am I, you ask? I am the Wiz! And we are in another section of our thing, the Backlog, featuring the game, the DioField Chronicle. In the last one, I had some issues, but I was kind of enjoying the game. I'm going to go into more in depth as to what happened, but first, let me start with some updates on some of the criticisms I had from part 1. A few people have pointed out to me that there is a menu to be able to level up, shop, and spend your currencies on your hero. That is true, and I should have recognized this earlier, but the menu to do this is in one instance only, and that is the menu right before a battle begins. You still have to use the map or walk to everything in the main base in order to do all that stuff, where it would make more sense to be able to just go to the menu and purchase or customize your characters there. It was technically wrong, and I regret the error, and I apologize. But I still think it's pretty inconsistent that I can only do that in a specific instance and not all the time. I think that's perfectly reasonable in there. Also, I mentioned how I would have liked an ability to pause the action or to plan more strategically. Technically, there is. Whenever you select a unit or groups of units, it pauses the action. But I would have preferred to be able to pause, then select a unit, then key up what I want that unit to do, then execute everything all at once. Battles can be that more satisfying when you see all of your units doing what you asked and they execute your plans flawlessly. Instead, you have to fumble with the controls and group up if you want to do it with a group of units, or do one way or a specific way, or with another unit to go another way. A pause and queue would have been a godsend for this game. I think this kind of holds it back. Alright, so I finished Chapter 1, which was about 6 battles in about 6 hours. And I had to grind for roughly an hour or two to level up my characters to where they weren't made of glass. But that still isn't enough to get the important currencies I need to level up my characters, namely the SP to level up the tree for abilities, and the 2 currencies I just found out the purpose for. Gold bar used to level up your weapon tree, and jade crystals to level up and enhance your orbs, which are spells that anyone can use. The only way right now to get those items are to do optional missions in battles, namely beating missions within a certain time, or collecting a chest on a map you are currently fighting. And with how the enemies are leveled throughout, it means you will likely be playing these maps multiple times to get those items. This leads me to a problem I have with not only leveling up, but also customizing your characters. In DioField, your characters do level up and gain XP, but when they level up, they gain 1 point of AP, which can be spent on leveling up your passive abilities. But the active abilities are janky and odd to obtain. Either you have to obtain them through certain weapons that have those abilities, which cost gold, and of course, the more expensive items have better abilities, or you spend SP, which is earned by completing missions with no knocked out characters, to go to the skill trees and unlock them for all characters. That essentially means that leveling up your character means far less than leveling up your trees, which leads to the grind of playing more missions over and over again to get the items and the gold to purchase them. This may not seem to be a problem in some games, but adding to the controls that you have to get used to and in the spongy bosses that take a while to put down, it becomes kind of a slog to actually improve your character. In this aspect, it's kind of surprising that the game wasn't a free-to-play game. It feels like something I'd be known to use in a Hoyoverse game, namely like Honkai Star Rail, where I have to grind certain missions and earn XP just to get the chance to get one single item that will then level my character up more. It's a slow drip feed to progress in the type of game that gamers are used to grinding on, sure, but they also get more satisfying progress while you do it. I'm going to give you an example. Let's take, for example, Disgaea. Sure, you can level up characters and buy gear, but then you earn points to get abilities after a character your unit kills, and you earn enough where you can make the decision to use it to level up abilities, gain new ones, or go to the council to obtain certain laws and rules. The feel of progress is constant because there is always decisions to be made. In DioField, the decision is purely to grind. Didn't get that objective completed, but still beat the battle? Do it again, because you'll need to in order to level up that one ability or get that weapon you want. This also leads to a problem with unit customization. Namely, there's barely any customization to speak of. Take, for example, leveling up your passives on your units. You earn AP every level up to spend 1. Yet, you soon realize that only 2 or 3 passives can be leveled up, and the rest needs to be unlocked to level up by earning something called unit rank. The only way to raise your unit rank is to beat missions. After 8 hours and beating 6 missions and to reach Chapter 2, I barely ranked it up to begin with. So I'm left with 2 options. Spend my SP on the only passive that can be leveled up for 1 SP, and some have one that can be worth 3 SP, or hoard those points until I can reach the required ranks I need to spend 10 SP on some other passives. It's actually stifling customization to do this because you're only given the decision to do it or not do it, which is antithetical to what most strategy games do these days. And on top of that, the characters themselves aren't that interesting either. They aren't that engaging thus far, and they seem to be boilerplate at most. So there really isn't much differentiating units other than this archer is level 14, whereas this one's level 13. And apparently more opens up as you get through the story, which also happens in other SRPGs. But where games like This Guy and Final Fantasy Tactics give you plenty to customize, and then adds more and more as you go on, DioField seems to show the possibilities but hold you back until it feels like you are ready for it, which honestly is kind of a drag. Even as stuff opens up, it looks like the end goal will be to have all units have the same abilities and ways of operating without much differentiation. I understand if the characters were just stock characters you create or recruit. These are the main characters, and to make them no different than each other with special abilities unique to them seems real odd. I think I've gotten used to the controls a little more, though I still feel like it could have been much more intuitive. I've gotten used to the hold and multi-order button that only gives you 3 options, but this also cropped up another issue I have. In one mission, the best strategy to tackle it is to split up your members and go different ways. This, of course, leads to a problem. Babysitting both units on both sides of the map is fairly impossible. An option to zoom out more to get the whole view of the battlefield would have helped immensely. Instead, the zoom out you do have in this game is one that zooms out the entire map, pauses the game, and makes you unable to select anything until you zoom back in. It really been that taxing to allow you to zoom out of the map a little bit more to get the entire map. The maps in these games thus far aren't that big at all, so it isn't complexity's sake. And I really feel as missions move forward, they will get more complex, and the controls and the way the camera works is going to be a pain to deal with. Otherwise, the battles are decent, but the strategy really is just leveling up your character enough to tank enough damage and deliver it back to the enemy. There's no real strategy or creativity involved, really. You use ability, sure, but they don't add anything dynamic to the proceedings. This guy does with, say, Geopanel or with Fire Emblem and its systems of pairings and leveling up relationships. And that's my biggest problem with the game thus far. Even when limiting the customization right now, to what end is there to push forward? All I'm doing is just using different abilities to do the same thing. Where's the ways that make each character different? Where's the personality on the battlefield? I gotta be honest, I'm at a point where if things don't pick up in about an hour or so, I might just put this back on the shelf for another title. This game has good battles and all, but I'm already starting to get a little bored of the ways the battles move. I really wanted to love this game. I wanted a new game like this for decades. And when it was announced, I was legit excited. And if I were a less fiscally responsible person, I would have bought it for its full asking price. And honestly, I would have regretted it. For right now, I think if you're interested in this, $20 is about the max that I would pay for it, maybe even less. But even then, I would limit it to people who really wanted to play a Growlancer or games like it and don't have much options other than that. Right now, it's disappointment, and unless the game improves a lot in the next couple of hours, my next segment of this will likely be its last. That's it for Thinning the Backlog, featuring the DioField Chronicle. Tuesday, Zero and I will be reviewing The Matrix, so check that out. Wednesday, we'll have a hopefully meaty gaming news roundup featuring the new releases from this week. Thursday will be another thing in the backlog, and Friday, another gaming news roundup. Saturday will be a review with Kim Shackman on Andrew Nichols' Gattaca, and Sunday is the Sunday matinee. And until then, I am The Wiz. Talk to you next time. Bye.